It's me again, and I'm here to talk about the the Antoine Doinel series. It started. It was a little thing. There was a little thing called the French New Wave back in the '60s, which initially it started in the late '50s, but it was essentially all through the '60s, and it didn't take off until a film called The 400 Blows, which was directed by Francois Truffaut and starred a very young Jean-Pierre Lloyd. And the character that Lloyd plays is named Antoine Doinel. And the film itself was very autobiographical for Truffaut, and it's a very great film. And it sparked this character, which essentially became the poster boy for the French New Wave. And this was right before Breathless. So, I mean, this is what put the French New Wave on the map, was the 400 Blows. And Lloyd is perfect. I mean, he is Antoine Doinel. You know, essentially, in a way, Truffaut is Doinel too, but it's Lloyd who embodies him. You know, and he's not just acting. I mean, he is the character. And this film, when he went on, and you would see in 1962, Truffaut did a segment called Antoine and Colette for a collaborative film called Love at 20. And Antoine and Colette's a 30-minute segment that follows Lloyd or Antoine Doinel after he has gone through the juvenile camps, the juvenile prisons that he was in, or not prison observation centers, whatever. But after he escaped from the first one, he went to another one. But you see him back in Paris doing it. He's on his own, you know, after his parents kind of left him to the wayside, and after all the stuff that he did. You know, he did a lot of bad, really bad things. I mean, he's a very misunderstood kid, and you get that through Doinel. I mean, this kid he's in his own world, and even when he grows up, he's still in his own world, and you see that clearly in Antoine and Colette. You see Antoine, he's got his friend Rene. He's living in Paris, and he's working as a record presser, and he meets this girl Colette in this concert, and he instantly falls in love with her, and he seeks her out and all this stuff, and they, you know, have a little kind of, they talk, they exchange books and everything. He's madly in love with this girl, so much so that he moves across the street from her, and it doesn't end well. You know, it ends devastatingly bad, and you know, Doinel is heartbroken yet again. And then we see him in I think '71 is when it came out, Stolen Kisses, where he's a little more grown up now, and he's in the military. And he gets kicked out of the military, and then he moves on. He works as a night porter. That doesn't pan out, so he becomes a private detective. And as he does this, he falls in love for this beautiful, beautiful girl, Christine Darbon, played by the wonderful Claude. I forget the actress's name, but Christine Darbon is the character's name. Just beautiful, wonderful character. And as he's going through all this, he fails as a detective, and then he ends up as a TV repairman. But all through this, he's trying to maintain this love for Christine Darbon. But in the end, he wins her. You know, he finally gets the girl. And then we come to Bed and Board, the next one. And they're married now, and they have a kid, but Doinel still doesn't grow up. I mean, after he fails as a flower maker, he has this thing with he works as a florist. That doesn't pan out either. He fails at that. And then he works for this American, some kind of American company that deals like models and ships and stuff like that. And he falls for this Japanese woman. And this is right around the time after his after Christine's gave birth to their son, and this romance is not set well with Christine naturally, and goes from there. But then in the end, he figures out that he still loves Christine, so they kind of get back together. You get this sense they're back together, and then we get to Love on the Run, which is the final film, which kind of wraps everything up for Doinel, and all of his romances and his adventures. They come to a head, and you get to kind of evaluate his life. Well, now him and Christine getting a divorce, and he's got this love affair with this young girl named Sabine, and he runs into Colette again. It rehashes everything, but the thing about these films, I've just condensed basically the life and times of Antoine Doinel, but you get a sense with these films, and what Truffaut was trying to do is really trying to capture life in general. They're real beautiful films, harsh at sometimes, especially the earlier ones like the 400 Blows, which is an amazing film, and Antoine and Colette. They get more tender as they go along, but there are scenes, especially like in Bed and Board and even Stolen Kisses, where the emotions are so harsh and real in these films that that you really see the magic of Truffaut in these films. And it's an amazing thing to watch. Just, Doinel never grows up. He's in his own little world, and he tries hard. He means well. Everything he does is not because he's a shit. It's because he doesn't know any better. He's still very much a kid at heart, and he wants to try to make things right, but it's kind of impossible because he lives in the moment. He's not thinking about down the line, what am I going to do here? What am I going to, he even writes a book about himself, that's what Love on the Run is kind of about. It's kind of surrounds this book, and it wraps up everything that happens in Doinel's life, from 400 Blows up to Bed and Board, and even there was the thing between Bed and Board and Love on the Run that we see in pieces, But all in all, these 5 films, I guess technically you could consider it 4.5, since one of them, Antoine and Colette's, only a segment, but they're pure magic. The magic of Truffaut. And I know for the French New Wave, you focus more on Godard, but there's real craft in Truffaut's work. Truffaut wasn't really, for me, he wasn't out to reinvent the cinema. He was merely out to perfect it. As he said in some interviews that a lot of the problems with cinema is they were good movies. I forget exactly, but it had something to do with the actors did not fit the roles, in Hollywood movies, and the actors fit the role here perfectly. Jean-Pierre Lod has grew up in the cinema. He grew up in the cinema, starting with the 400 Blows up until even in the 70s he became like this big icon in movies, like real emotionally charged movies like Last Tango in Paris and The Mother and the Whore, which is one of the greatest movies I've ever seen, along with Last Tango in Paris, but those are easily comparable. But Truffaut and Lod, they work well together, and these 5 movies are great examples of that, and truly a joy to watch and need to be viewed by anybody if they can. And this was, all 5 of these films were in a collection by the Criterion. They put that out, and 400 Blows is on Blu-ray from the Criterion, so definitely, if you get a chance, you need to check. If you haven't already, check these out. And that's about it that's a piece of the history of the magic of Francois Truffaut. Thank you.